Today, we're digging into a pretty provocative idea, an argument that a huge generational shift is already underway, one that could completely reshape the U.S. economy. Let's get right into it. The source material really doesn't hold back. It paints the retirement of the baby boomers not as some quiet, gradual thing, but as a full-on potential catastrophe. That's a bold statement, right? So let's unpack the argument they're making. The whole theory kicks off with this one number, 10,000. According to the article, that's how many baby boomers are hitting retirement age every single day. The author gives this a name, the Great Liquidation, and says it's the trigger for a chain reaction that's already started. So let's look at this so-called Great Liquidation. The idea is that this mass retirement is the very first domino to fall. So let's follow the chain reaction and see where it leads. So where does that first domino hit? Well, the article argues it lands smack in the middle of the stock market, kicking off what it calls a financial fire sale. See, it's not just about people stopping work. It's about what they have to do with their money after they stop. And this number is, well, it's pretty startling. Citing data from the Federal Reserve, the article points out that half of all boomers have less than $250,000 saved for retirement. Now, for a retirement that could last 20 or 30 years, that's not a lot. And it forces many to start selling off assets, like stocks, just to cover their living expenses. Okay, so here's how that chain reaction is supposed to work. It's pretty simple. Step 1, retirees need cash to live on. Step 2, so they start selling off their stocks. Now, when millions of people do this all at once, you get these huge outflows from the market. And, basic economics tells us when you have way more sellers than buyers, asset prices can fall, which could affect everybody's 401k. This isn't just about individual retirement accounts, though. The argument is that this pressure scales way up, creating a massive stress test for our entire social safety net. Because when you look at huge programs like Social Security and Medicare, the fundamental math is starting to wobble. And here's why that math is getting so tricky. Social Security is basically a pay-as-you-go system, right? Today's workers pay for today's retirees. But just look at how that core ratio has flipped. We used to have about 5 workers supporting every one retiree. Now, it's less than 2. That is a seismic shift, and it puts the whole system under just an incredible amount of pressure. And this isn't some fuzzy, far-off problem. The article points to official projections that have some pretty hard deadlines. The Medicare Trust Fund, on track to be depleted by 2031. Social Security, right behind it in 2033. Now, to be clear, depleted doesn't mean the money's all gone, but it does mean that, without major changes, they could only pay out a fraction of the benefits they've promised. Now, these kinds of financial issues don't just stay on a spreadsheet. The argument is that they spill over into the real economy, causing a major shakeup in 2 areas we all care a lot about: housing and jobs. I mean, just look at this. According to the source, a single generation, the baby boomers, owns nearly 40% of all real estate in the United States. This is what sets the stage for a potential tidal wave. The theory is that all of this housing inventory could hit the market at once as boomers downsize or pass away. The article has a little fun here, but it's making a serious point. This flood of housing might not be what younger buyers are actually looking for. And that could create a real mismatch in the market, with potential price drops for homes that still have shag carpet. At the very same time, you've got the labor market. As 10,000 boomers retire every day, they take decades and decades of experience with them. The article calls this a brain drain, and it could lead to huge labor shortages in really important, skilled fields like these. So, after all these dominoes have fallen, who's left to handle the cleanup? This is where the article really pivots, and it frames the whole situation as an involuntary and massive promotion for younger generations. The entire argument really boils down to this one simple question. After this massive societal shift plays out, who's going to be left to manage the consequences? And there it is. The answer, according to the source, is incredibly direct. It makes the whole argument deeply personal. The responsibility, it contends, falls squarely on the shoulders of Millennials and Gen Z. In other words, you. And it is not a small job. This is basically the brand new to-do list the article says younger generations are inheriting. It's not just fixing one thing here or there. It's a complete overhaul of some of America's most foundational systems. But okay, it's not all doom and gloom. The article is quick to stress that this bust can absolutely be managed. It lays out a whole toolkit of potential fixes, from policy reforms to new investments in tech, that could help ease this landing and create a more stable future for everyone. Ultimately, the source's main point is that this isn't a problem for someday in the future. The test is happening right now. And it leaves all of us with a final provocative question. Faced with this massive demographic shift, what kind of future will a new generation choose to build? Thanks for watching.